thank you all for the wonderful introduction. It's been, I'm better than I am on LinkedIn. I'm fine my introduction. Did you pull it off LinkedIn? I need to use that, is what I'm saying. Yeah. I gotta get respect from the family somehow when I walk through the house. Yeah. So, in Ben here, I put a smile on my face seeing you here. He's the reason I'm here, right? His salesmanship brought me down to Lexington. I'm new here. I come from Michigan, a small town. I graduated high school with roughly 50 kids, okay? So really boondocks-ish, right? But we moved down here because of the weather and the people. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to get to know everybody here and speak with you. I had an introduction for myself that was supposed to make me sound like a subject matter expert, but he already did it for me. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay. Do this. I'm going to introduce myself anyways, okay? So, I'm not a guru, and I think that's important because if you ever see me in that position, that icon, something's seriously wrong. And you should call 911. But I am a doctoral candidate. I study artificial intelligence, and in particular, the implementation of artificial intelligence in small business, okay? So this is like my thing, right? I enjoy doing this. I am a corporate guy. I came from a corporate America, 15 years at General Motors. I spent 3 years at Harman. Harman is JBL speakers. And while I was there, that's when I got into the artificial intelligence realm, because Harman at the time was working on augmented reality heads-up displays for vehicles. So the idea was that Harman was going to corner the market, so to speak, for JBL speakers and the windshields, and at some point in time when vehicles are driving around by themselves, the vehicle becomes an entertainment system, right? Just full on, you sit back, relax, and watch the screen. So some of the things that I was working on were like, where's the KFC pin gonna be on the full screen in the vehicle, right? And honestly, because my background is procurement, I had no idea what I was talking about in terms of buying these things, what it is I'm buying. So I got really interested in it, right? I got tired of getting beat up by my CEOs, by these types of people in the businesses, right? And wanted to learn it. And so I got really interested in small tools. What tools can help me learn these better? What tools can help me get my job done faster? And I really started to adopt it. So this was 3 years ago, right? And here we are today. I'm a father of 3. I was busy before this time. 3, 6, and 10. I have a lovely wife. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without her. She's not here today on purpose. But I did put this on here because AI and children are synonymous in my mind. Curiosity. You need to be curious. You need to experiment with these tools. You need to become familiar with it. And children breed agility. You have to be agile with children. Mine are trying to kill themselves every morning. And it's something, you're like, please don't touch that, don't do that. But you have to understand sometimes that they're going to make mistakes too. And AI is like a 3-year-old child. And you need to talk to it and honestly let it make mistakes and let it learn from you, okay? So where are we going to go today? I'm going to tell you a little bit about artificial intelligence's glamorous glow up. And we're going to look at it like the family and what happens when artificial intelligence goes from the toddler to the tweeter, right, the generation of artificial intelligence, to what we're going to talk about today, which is agentic AI. Is basically, if you think about a systematic use of multiple AI agents together, that's what we're going to really talk about. We're going to experiment with it a lot today. Hopefully you guys will give me problems to try to solve, and we'll be able to solve them. If not, remember what I said about mistakes, right? AI will make mistakes, and that's why you use it and get familiar with it. I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about confidence and competence. Why? Because this is my particular area of study. And it's relevant to AI in particular because AI makes things easy. It really does. But it can be bad for you in the sense that you can become overconfident in what you're doing and really not have any idea what you're doing. Okay, so my version of my AI and bias and AI and ethics talk is really around Dunning-Kruger effect, which is the overconfident, incompetent use of these tools. Then I'll give you, I hope to spend most of my time talking through my business's toolbox and in particular, open source tools that are available, or very cheap tools that are available that we can start using today. And we'll talk about OpenAI, Replit agents, Perplexity, SciSpace, Zappy, and more. Then I'm going to just speculate on my idea of what the future is going to be 5, 10, and 20 years out with artificial intelligence, and tell you guys a little bit about what I'm seeing from the small business perspective. I'll give you an idea. I think small business is going to drive a lot of innovation in the future, out of necessity and out of the sheer brain power, right? There's a lot of brain power in this room, by the way, right? A lot of very smart people, and if we start using these tools appropriately with our own, what do I call it? Building myself as an agent, and imagine your drive in that agent, your business needs, your business requirements, you start to see that innovation speed up, right? So I think we're going to be, us small business folks are going to be driving a lot of the change in the future. And then finally, I'll let you guys bother me with questions. Hopefully I have an answer. And I'll leave you with a little challenge, okay? So first off, I have a pop quiz for you. We're going to listen carefully, and you're going to tell me which of these is human, okay?
Hi everyone. A quick tip before you begin your AI journey with Paul. I'd recommend pouring yourself an extra drink, maybe 2. Paul's about to talk, and look, he's brilliant, but he really loves words.
Okay.
I'm totally real. You can trust me, I promise. I'll just say a few more things so that you really trust me, and then I'll stare directly into the camera with confidence. I'm all down for the idea of doing absolutely nothing. I mean, look at it. I'm sitting on a really cool beanbag being with you.
Okay. Anybody have any ideas which one is real? C? None of them are real. C? None of them? Yeah, it's a trick question.
All of them, 3 things. There's a little bit, it's getting to where it's going to be better, but there's a bit of staticness to their movements. It's very, very slight, but you can tell between real and fake. If you look at one of them, I think it's one in the middle, his eye is slightly off kilter. And then the other thing is all of them were saying things that they would have been prompted to say as if they were reading a script.
You got it. Okay, so this is thank you. That's a really good example of things to watch out for, okay? So, again, I'm not a guru, but there's a lot of people out there saying they're gurus, okay? And it's because maybe they understand a certain tool, or maybe they know a certain thing, or a certain automation, right? But what makes somebody good with artificial intelligence is how they apply it to the business holistically, right? You can solve as many linear function problems as you want, but if you're doing it in isolation, your business is going to go nowhere, right? You just solved that single problem and maybe cause problems elsewhere. So be aware, right? Be aware of where the current state of artificial intelligence is today, so that you're aware of tricks like me. Hey, now that I blasted you all guys and proved to you all that I'm a liar, AI is low up. So again, let's think of AI like a family. And when we first started hearing about artificial intelligence, we were really hearing about the predictive AI. And I like to think about predictive AI as the nerdy dude in the basement that's like going over fantasy football stats from 20 years ago to now. And they're constantly going through it, and they can tell you all of the very important pieces of data of things that did happen, but they're not really telling you anything about the future. There's nothing really predictive about it. When you get to generative AI, you get to your my 10-year-old son actually, who's obsessed with the videos, who's tweeting small things out, poor tweets by the way, but basically generating content. It's images, it's the videos that I shared earlier, and you're all familiar with that, right? And ChatGPT is a prime example of a language learning model that is generative AI. And then now, and what's really powerful is agentic AI. And the key with agentic AI is that it essentially learns from itself and reflects upon the decisions that have been made and is able to change the way it's going to work in the future, okay? So we'll talk a little bit more about agentic AI in general. So the first thing is tool use. Agentic AI has the capability to use tools in real time, right? So that means it's going into a site that you direct the AI bot to go to, for example, and it's scraping certain pieces of information for you, and then processing that information. As I mentioned earlier, it's reflection and self-correction. So built into that agentic AI system, you have the capability for this material, this thing to learn. And then planning and task structuring. So once it goes through its process of learning, it will lay out in a proper agentic AI system. You'll start to see the tasks be laid out at hand for what that agentic AI system intends to do. And then finally, and I'll show examples of this, and later we'll walk through several examples actually of multi-agent collaboration. So you think about, in our case, we'll walk through OpenAI, working with Perplexity, and a replicator. So we'll use 3 different agents to basically talk to one another as an example of how these systems can work, right? I'll try to show you how the data goes through it all. And then why does this matter, right? Well, autonomy, I don't know, we're all super busy, okay? And every small business owner has this halo effect, which is essentially, I can do it all myself, or I need to do it all myself, or we're all wearing a million hats, right? And the beauty of all this is that AI should be taking the hats off of you, right? It should be allowing you to free up your time for the real value add stuff. An entrepreneurial mindset, what I alluded to earlier is using AI in your likeness as a small business owner to ensure that you're getting what you want out of the decisions that are being made from that AI, right? You're basically designing yourself into that agent, creating an agent for your business's priorities. And then you have strategic decision making. Obviously, earlier I talked about Dunning-Kruger and AI can be, my warning is if you're using AI wrong, you can become overconfident and quite incompetent in using it. But if you're using it right, the data that you're being given is proper data. The data that was cleaned by the AI is presented to you in a proper way, and you're able to make strategic decisions faster, right? And then finally, AI helps to bridge the gap between all these different functions, right? And it keeps the one goal in mind that you want to be in mind with AI. So here's my take on bias again, and the Dunning-Kruger effect. So the Dunning-Kruger effect again is what a low confidence creates high confidence, and it does lead to risky decisions. Why is this important for small businesses to be aware of this? Again, we're wearing multiple hats, right? We have to generalize quickly, make decisions quickly, and take risks quickly. And AI, believe it or not, can also help in that way, right? So when you're wearing many hats, when you are surrounded by people who can potentially cause these echo chamber effects, just be aware, okay? Be aware of the impacts that what you're doing could have on the business, and be aware of the bias, right? And you mitigate it by simply piloting small programs. I would never tell any company, even if they were gonna pay me a lot of money, I'd never say, please go out there and implement AI and everything right now, right? Start with a small process and then move on, expand upon that process. And of course, it's all about, again, continuously learning. Be that toddler, pretend you're the 3-year-old, be curious, and try new things. And with AI, how fast everything's changing, which, by the way, smarter people out there at Google, smarter people than me, out there at Google are saying, this is 30 years of technological change in 3, right? And that should scare everybody. It should genuinely scare you, because there's competition that's taking advantage of this, right? And that competition that's taking advantage of this is getting a leg up, and they're doing it fast. Now, when you think about it all compounding, 30 years into 3, that's a big first mover advantage, okay? And look at the valuation of companies today. The valuation of organizations like OpenAI are astronomical. There's an icon.me. It's, you probably saw one of their advertisements at the football, Super Bowl, right? It's purely their AI video, and they went from, in February, they launched $100 million monthly revenue. It's 8 people in this company. right? How do you structure a company that makes $100 million a month? They use AI, right, in every form or fashion across the functions, okay? And of course, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Smart proverbially said this, I don't remember who, Snoop maybe? So that's the Dunning-Kruger effect. Pay attention, right? And here's where things start to go off the rails, because I'm going to ask you guys for a lot of help starting down, okay? I want to know what kind of problem we should try to solve with artificial intelligence, and I'm going to use these 4 tools to try to solve a problem collectively amongst ourselves. We're going to use OpenAI to help define the problem, okay? And as I walk through this issue, we'll talk through the tools we're using, their main functions, some of the costs, and so on. What I'll do is I'll use OpenAI to solve the problem. We'll use Perplexity to add substance to the problem, or the solution for that matter. And then we're going to do a little fun trick. I'm going to ask a Replit agent, which is a prime example of an agentic AI system within the confines of coding. We're just simply going to ask this agent to build us a web application to solve the problem. Meanwhile, I'm going to show you guys how it all gets orchestrated with me. Okay? And those 4 tools are all either less than $20 a month or free. And you know, think about implementing free tools like that and being able to expand your productivity just like that, right? It's easier than you think, too. So, suggestions for problems. Don't make me pick on anybody in here, please. It's gonna be you. Come on! Inventory problems. I can't mute children. I tried. Marketing. I heard a lot of marketing in here. Lead generation, maybe. And ads, job postings, okay.
At my old job, somebody had messed up the inventory, and so every time we updated it, it didn't give the accurate amount, we just had to add it in. How would we fix that with AI?
Inventory problems or adding in a description?
Well, trying to fix it, essentially, because like when you're adding it in, you're not seeing what it actually is, so then it would move into negatives, and so we just had a lot of that going on.
Not all problems I'm not Harry Potter, I don't know. Not all problems can be fixed with AI, it's not a good There we go. No, but if I understood the problem, I think we could solve it, I just don't know if I got the details. Yeah? I mean, so something, I heard marketing, lead generation, I did that for me. Scheduling, I heard generating something. Scheduling I like because that's an easy thing for me to do. Can I stick on scheduling, guys?
How about hiring employees and onboarding?
Onboarding, actually, the paperwork and everything is a great example for agentic AI to take through the system. We could do, let's try a mixture of onboarding and scheduling. Let's say we're onboarding volunteer group, okay? And we want to control the schedule of that onboarding group. Yeah? Everybody okay? Okay. So, you guys familiar with ChatGPT, first of all? A little bit. Raise your hands if you like use it a lot. You use it a lot? Oh God, everybody went down. A little bit. We use it a little bit. Enough to be dangerous? Okay, cool. Okay. This isn't it? Okay, so we're all relatively familiar with what OpenAI is. Conversational AI, it's a language learning model. You have free access to it. If you're not using it, please start using it, try to use it. It's generational, so if you're having trouble writing something, a copy for social media, for example, this is probably one of the better language learning models you could use. And if you use it frequently enough, it will learn from you, right? So use it, let it learn from you. And just gave some use cases here, marketing and customer service and just general strategy. Believe it or not, I used it for this presentation. You know, in fact, I think I asked it, what is my problem with my presentation and why people won't like it? And those are the kinds of things so that you need to use it for because it'll give you a direct answer. Again, it's like a 3-year-old in a computer. You have to be fairly direct and very succinct with how you prompt to get the answer that you're looking for. right? So practice prompting. Now, in the sense of a scheduler, I'm gonna pull OpenAI over here. So OpenAI is the company that owns ChatGPT, right? And you guys are all familiar with ChatGPT. Are you familiar with, on the left side, the different types of GPTs that are in ChatGPT? No? Cool. So, within ChatGPT, there are very specific GPTs that you can use for free, okay? My favorite one to use, because I suck at math, is a financial calculator, basically a financial advisor. But again, all of these are absolutely free, okay? And in the sense of you have a problem with anything, you have something you're looking to solve, there's probably a custom application within GPT that you could go to that's been trained in that particular problem, okay? So again, I use finance, I use Scholar GPT to help me do research and tie different, I use Scholar GPT a lot actually, to help me tie different concepts together and basically read my papers for me. We're gonna cut that out of the video. My professors don't need to know that. But you can also, create your own, and you can do it for free. So like, my Procurement Pro is my 20 years of procurement experience shoved into a little AI with a description and everything, and I published it. So if anyone has questions about procurement, you can go to the Procurement Pro, and in the background, there's basically a library of procurement data that's been put in there, right? That's now free for everybody to use. But the same applies anywhere, really. So in the case of our problem, I'm gonna ask OpenAI to help me solve this problem. And what I'm gonna do in this particular case, because I don't wanna write it out, and I'm not exactly sure how to ask this Replit agent, which is going to build a web application for it, I'm not exactly sure how to ask this agent what to build. So I'm gonna basically say, hey, OpenAI ChatGPT, please help me build a website. Please help me build a web application that resolves scheduling.
And onboarding.
Here that has the capability to onboard and schedule volunteers. Yeah? Sweet. It will say, please write this web application description for a I don't know if you have to be going through it. I swore at this thing a few times. Yeah, I cussed it out a few times. It does the same thing. It responds in the same way. Okay. Does this look good? Let's read it over, right? So we're going to create a user-friendly web application that streamlines onboarding and scheduling processes for volunteers. Fair? Good? Everybody happy with that? Okay. Now, bear with me. Okay. Now I want to show you Perplexity real quick. So Perplexity is a language learning model. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the description we just had OpenAI create for us, and I'm going to have Perplexity add some more substance to it to make it a better application description. So that when we're telling Replit to build the application, it knows more, right? But I want to show you Perplexity because Perplexity is like OpenAI, but it's better at a few things, and it's better at research in general. Where Perplexity really shines is where where you want to know, like, think of social media, for example. It's a good example. Perplexity can, when you search in here, you can search for different types of, you can search academic, social. If you want to know the latest things trending, for example, Perplexity will exclusively search today the social media or Reddit, right, that's out there today, or, and that differs from OpenAI. Why? Because OpenAI is trained up until a certain point. Okay, so the last I remember it was like October of last year. So you won't get necessarily real-time data from OpenAI unless you specifically ask it to search the web and you specifically tell it to get today's data. This is meant to get that immediately, and it's meant to give you the sources immediately. It also obviously can help with other things like, please help me make I will share below better. And I suspect what it's going to do. Sorry. Yeah, okay, so it's already making suggestions, and then if I scroll down further here, it's going to basically tell me where the suggestions came from. So that's the key differentiator in my mind between an OpenAI and a Perplexity, is that you're going to get the sources in Perplexity. So if you're interested in validating where an answer comes from, this is a good way to validate that. Now, what I'd like to do is take this description, and I'm gonna, now, imagine, if you will, that there's no me here, and this is automatically being done between the systems, okay? Because that's essentially what, that's essentially what an agentic AI system is having no middleman here to like do the back and forth between the AI, okay? In this case, I'm just acting as the middleman. And we're gonna say, please, incorporate. By the way, I can't see that on my screen. Am I typing like terrible? So I'm through. Okay, good. We're good. Oh.
Was that two, in the bottom there in your search, like where you were putting in your feed? Was that two, like, space now? Or what was that two for?
The G? So I use,
That was a two.
I use Grammarly to correct my grammar as I type.
That's probably what that was.
And I have the, Grammarly, I can't, what do they call it?
Add-on?
Yeah, add-on, thank you, the extension, the Chrome
Yeah.
extension. So it annoys me all the time.
My bad.
But no, it gives me compliments. It's like, wow, you write a lot. It's like, you know, I know, but then as you've written, it tells me I don't get any better at my spelling. It's not there, right? Okay, so what I did here is just wrote a bunch of garbage. Let me try again. Because what it did here, I didn't prompt it enough. What it actually did is wrote some of the code for the volunteer app, right? So we'll say, please write a description, relevant agent that is for volunteer scheduling. Yeah, right. Talking about
Onboarding and scheduling.
yeah. And, suggestions into the I meant to have that
I'm more than happy to play for you next
You
time.
should, yeah, you know what? I'm tone deaf. I'm tone deaf. Don't make me do that again. Okay, now. I'm gonna copy all of this. Okay, and I'm gonna put this into a Replit agent. But before that, before I do that, I'm gonna tell you about a Replit agent. I didn't tell you about the last one, right? Yeah, that's the statistics. So Again, complexity, I look at like an AI-powered research and Q&A tool. And I like it as a Q&A tool, again, because it gives you the sources for where it's giving you your answers, and it's free. And for me, I use it for the same things I use OpenAI for when I want more substantiated data, basically. And then here, you know, my thing here is he who asks is a fool for 5 minutes, but he who doesn't ask is a fool forever. Just ask, right? Just use this thing and ask and see what you get. Now, Replit agents, I'll give you the description before everybody freaks out. Replit agents are free. What this is a cloud-based coding platform, and I'm using it specifically because it's a very good example, again, of an agentic AI system with the purpose of coding, right? So if you think of agentic AI and multiple AI or multiple things that need to happen within that stream, or that scenario, those functions, that workflow, this is a good example of an application that goes out and executes all of that. And it only comes back to you when it has a question. So, well, one thing I do want to do is ask the, I want to jump back to OpenAI. And I apologize for this. Don't let me confuse you, or me. Don't let me get confused. I want to jump back to that real quick because I want to add in something and say, I need to have OpenAI in my web application, okay? Yes. Revise, please revise and include OpenAI integration into the web application for scheduling purposes. The reason I did that is because the previous conversation that what we previously asked it, will not have an AI integration with this web app, right? So what we're going to do is try to build a web app. We're going to connect it to OpenAI, and we're going to use OpenAI, hopefully to, in my mind, we're going to use it to schedule, right? We'll see how well it works, but we're giving it a shot. So I want you to think about Replit here as an incredibly powerful tool for solving very quick problems. What we're going to do here is actually kind of complicated, I think, for the purpose of an hour, and the fact that I've got like 15 minutes left. But if you're interested, I highly, and you have unclaimed data, right? When I say unclaimed data, it's like you have 2 Excel files, and they have different columns, and you need them to talk to each other, right? And one is named, you know, address, but the other one is named place of origin, or something like that. You can use, we're going to use OpenAI to, Replit, you can ask Replit to solve those problems for you, and then what you do is deploy it. So you, instead of, we all have a website, WordPress, we all know kind of the idea of a website. Basically, you put it online, and then you use it, right? You go in and you can functionally use this thing. So you're solving your one specific, you created an app to solve your specific problem. So, I mean, it got ahead of me, where I pushed go. but basically, here's what it did. It read our description, and the Replit agent came back and said, okay, here's what we're going to build. I'm going to help you build this thing. Here's my suggestions. What do you want in this, right? And just for the purpose of keeping it simple, I'm not going to ask it to do the 10 additional things. But it doesn't hurt to try, right? I've made some cool things by just taking its suggestions. So as we push this guy over here, as I say go, nothing fancy is going to happen except that it's going to start actually coding the web application for us. And then when it's finished coding, what we'll see over here on the right hand side is basically the web view of what our application is going to look like. And it'll ask us a few things. It's probably going to say, tell me your OpenAI key, right? And that's just to simply said, every time that you guys go from one website to another and you're asked to use your Google sign-in, that's an OL authorization, and that's essentially what I'm going to provide in my OpenAI key. It's just OL authorization, pre-authorized. While we wait for this to work for me, right? we're gonna talk about Make. Okay, Make is phenomenal because Make takes everything that you are working on in AI, everything that you're using, and it can connect it all for you. And basically, it connects it without any knowledge of coding. You, as the user, don't have to have any knowledge of coding. It's called a no-code solution, right? You'll hear the words no-code, low-code. Make has some competitors. N8N, completely free. N8N, Make, however, is with 1,000 operations. You could do a lot of stuff. You could automate a lot of stuff with 1,000 operations. So, let me show you guys like what Make looks like. Because it's actually independent of a replicate engine in the sense of that a replicate agent would exist within Make, okay? So here's an example of what they call a workflow in Make. What I'm doing, it looks like a lot of stuff, right? But basically, what this represents is my social media accounts. They're all completely automated. I do nothing with it. And what I've done is I've taken and trained several different AI assistants in processing that particular part of data for this particular platform, right? So Twitter folks like, or X folks, they like to see a certain format, right? And so I have my OpenAI assistant up in the top. I'm prompting it in that cell, in that little module, I'm prompting it to write for Twitter. The same thing applies for LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and then my LinkedIn business page, right? So the way I treated this, one piece of information from the web, an RSS feed. Are you guys familiar with RSS feeds? So what I've done is I've basically created my own RSS feed that's artificial intelligence, business strategy, things like that, and I say, okay, I take that information and I give it to another AI called Anthropic. It's very good for formatting unstructured data. Okay? I don't talk about it here specifically, but a real good thing to do if you have a problem with unstructured data would be to use Claude because and just ask it structure. It's very smart in terms of knowing what you're looking for, right? Not having to be so specific. But so I send the whole workflow through there, and then I start routing those pieces of information accordingly. Right? So up until the router, everything is the same. It's the 10 articles that are now summarized by Claude. And let me show you, I'll run. Okay, you can even see the flow of material, right? What it goes. I want to pull this up because it seems complicated, but it's not. All it's done is pulled this article, right? What this is telling me is, hey, here's an article I pulled, here's a summary of the article I pulled, and it's all information, the URL of the article, and I'm basically now, I use a trigger in here, okay? And that's how every Make scenario starts, is with a trigger. And in this case, it just triggers to any time between 5 and 5 to go off. And it'll go and pull the information from the RSS feed, and then proceed to send it down, like I said. And at Claude, you can see where I messaged it in that workflow as a user, right? Now imagine what I just did as a user with OpenAI. That's what I pre-populated in here. And I said, its response to what I prompted it is this, right? Here's a copy of the social media post that you want. Okay, and I send it to here now and say, well, because I didn't actually do it. Now here's my particular copy for Twitter, and then as you go down. Now, imagine being able to take something that you've built that solves your particular problem with a long string of data and insert it into the whole scenario, okay? That's where it's really powerful, because you can start building, making replica, you can start building custom solutions that are incredibly specific to your business, right? And you can do it for free. So, like I said, it's gonna ask me for the key. I'll say go. While it goes, I wanna talk to you guys about, let me try to rush it. A couple more of my favorite tools. Size space. Does anybody here have to deal with grants? Writing of grants. Okay. I thought of you. I thought of you when I put this on here. I do almost exclusively all my research between Perplexity and SciSpace. SciSpace is also called typeset.io, but it's basically a research companion and incredibly powerful. If you have, again, it's good for grant proposal, in-depth research, and it also does concept matching, right? So if you have some abstract concept that you're trying to understand further, ask the question about the concept. It'll give you all the data behind that concept and blow your mind. That was my feed, by the way. So here's what typeset SciSpace, what SciSpace looks like, and why I pulled this up and want to show you while the agent's building everything in the background. This nifty thing here where you can check with the PDF. Okay, so I deal with a lot of really boring research papers, and I use this to understand it better, right? And to make sure that I'm getting the point, to make sure that the summary is appropriate. Whoop. And you can see I'm studying stupidity. I'm interested in studying AI and get back to that. Loading. Okay, this might not be appropriate for grant writing, but because this is chatting with a PDF, right? OpenAI has a similar capability, but OpenAI is not going to give you the amount of substance, right? And of course, when you're doing something like a grant, you want to pull any kind of information, right? Knowledge is power, data speaks for itself, kind of thing. So use this to talk to the document or multiple documents that you're working with, and essentially by simply clicking on a paragraph and asking this thing to explain the text, summarize it, find related papers. So think about this with really anything. You have a healthcare bill that you don't think should have been billed the right way, chat with this thing. I do it all the time on behalf of the bills that I get that I don't agree with, right? And you end up finding information about certain things you never thought you'd know. So I use this almost exclusively in place of Word, because I also, inside SciSpace, I can create a notebook, and you'll see it ties to, you can look at both together, right? And also, as I go through all of this, there's a paraphraser in here that I really like, an AI detector, which comes in handy when you're using AI all the time, right? So if you want to humanize what you're using AI to generate, this is very good at doing this particular thing. So like, it basically paraphrases whatever you have written, and it'll give you, second paraphrasing tool, does that? So if you're stuck, right, use the paraphraser. And it all happens inside SciSpace instead of inside Word. Okay? Let's see what our agent is doing over here. Okay, volunteer hub, sweet. So, I mean, I did none of this in the background, right? This is probably not a fully working app. I mean, I've got to add some things in here, but the general substance for the application is there for now. for me to take further, right? And start to develop a little bit further by talking to them, by tending to them, essentially. And if I get to a point where I'm confused, within the Replit agent, there's an additional agent that watches the code to make sure you're not typing anything too. So like in this case, it wants me to count. Started. Just making sure I have my old passwords. Spell my own name wrong. No. What? Paul? Spell? Good looking you. Okay. Okay, so I mean, it's right now not incredibly mind-blowing what it shows, but this is, again, agentic AI, a prime example of agentic AI at work, because it's going to prompt us when it only needs help. It's going to come back to us when it only needs support. And all it's trying to do here was basically say, hey, does this first step of this web application work? And the answer is yeah, I think so, right? Yes. Okay, cool. Now it'll go on to the next steps and everything else that we talked to until it runs into a problem and needs our help. Or until we tell it to do something different, right? You can see over here it's like thinking. And while it thinks, I want to share with you guys one more tool, because I think we're running out of time. Well, this is the tool that I made the videos with. HeyGen is probably the best AI video maker right now out there, and you get 4 videos a month for free. I use these videos for explainer videos to get somebody who looks a little more mature than me talking about a topic so people believe that person, because I'm hard to believe.
That's all we'll do.
And there you go. So, well, my point there, he, who, whatever, every window is a passerby, use this thing. Get out in front of people as much as possible, right? It doesn't hurt to be in front of people. Market the heck out of yourself. This tool here, Vappy, is HeyGen, but for voice, okay? So, Vappy is voice bots, voice calls. Scheduling is where I see this, again, having the biggest impact right now. I use Vappy for cold calls. I wouldn't say it's perfect with that, especially if you have an industry like artificial intelligence, where there's a lot of different legal ramifications or backgrounds or something, So, but what it does really well is checks your calendar, finds out whether or not you're available, and then books a call. So I see, I've implemented a lot of Vappy workflows, right? Make workflows with Vappy in dentist's office, chiropractor's offices, right? Anything where somebody calls in to confirm a schedule or something like that. And here, talk doesn't cook steak. Let the AI do it for you. Let the AI talk. And I wanted to make sure, just to give you an idea. Let's see if this works.
Hi there, I'm Alex. May I ask whom I have the pleasure of speaking with?
This is Paul.
Great to meet you, Paul. Could you please provide me with your date of birth?
Okay, but he's a freaky sounding guy. We're gonna shut him up now, but so within, this is Vappy, right? And within here, just so you guys can see, there's millions of names you can choose. There's different name providers, and it's pretty much as easy to create an assistant for free, by the way, for the first few phone calls. It's pretty easy to create a general assistant to handle something like customer support or appointment setting. You basically just feed it the information for your business, but they have the general conversation already pre-developed for you, right? The one that I just shared with you was one that I was purposely using to yell at myself to see how far I could take it. I'm not kidding. I wanted to see if it would, like, if you were customer service and somebody got on the phone and was ticked off with you, can I train this thing to be a little aggressive back? And it will, if you train it to, So, there's 4:30. Let's go to, question, is that? Hugging Face, we can talk about this a little bit. This is essentially open AI, but pre-trained models that are made available to people. You have to be a little bit smarter with bringing in the system into your environment or onto your cloud or whatever, but essentially, Hugging Face is a platform that developers use to provide open source trained models to people to test. And so you can get a lot of really good detailed models that perform really well here for free, right? And they have particular uses like inventory tracking or a cold call transcript generation and things like that. So you can get really specific where there's been a developer already that's done the training for you. You just go and pull that out of your site. And again, borrow that. Who cares who did it? It's going to leave you the treasure in it. And 5, 10, 20 years out, this is just my idea of what the future is, but again, I believe small business is going to lead the way in terms of innovation. I think businesses are going to be much smaller and more valuable in the future. I mean, it's already happening today. At some point, I truly believe that generative architectures are going to essentially be a self-regulating environment. So you set it and forget it, especially when it's something that's very data heavy and data intense, and we want nothing to do with it. I also want to put this idea in everyone's head, just because you can be more productive doesn't mean you necessarily have to. Think about Henry Ford and the assembly line and the subsequent 5-day work week, right? I believe artificial intelligence has the potential to free up additional leisure time for us in the near future. 4-day work week, anybody, right? But for real, there's plenty of potential out there to get that much done to where if we as a whole agree that it all makes sense, we can do it without making any sacrifice to the business and the profitability. I'm going to pull up the revelation real quick and video. And in the meantime, I'm going to go to my Q&A. Okay? Now I'm going to work on this replicate, by the way, guys, and post it so that you guys can use it. And if you want to have any, I'll put it out there, and I have everybody's name. I don't have all your information, but I have your names, and I will find you using AI, and I will reach out to you and share with you the agent that we built. I'm going to tweak it so it's actually useful a little bit, and more than just a hey, fill out this form and so on. But quite honestly, I should be able to, in 30 minutes when I get home, make it a completely functional application. So any questions, concerns with all of this? It's a lot. I tried to let my brother-in-law over there, thank you Josh for being here to record. He let me practice this with him a couple times. And I'm looking at him to see if he's understanding it. I think we're okay. No questions.
How safe is this AI as far as your personal information and all that?
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't be giving it, your social security number by any means, but all these tools that I showed you, they practice the proper encryption methods, right? They're all completely in alignment with the government, right? The government standards. And if you want, you can ask and get provided with a certificate from those companies like OpenAI and make that proves that they're protecting and encrypting your data. So every one of these things, your data is not being given to them and then they're not training the model on it. It depends on where you're using it, right? And in any case with AI, it really depends on the environment where you put the AI. And so if you're picking it up, open source, you're picking up a code, and you're putting that open source code in your environment, it's not going to go outside of your environment unless you allow it to, outside of your firewall, right? So, again, all these tools, they practice encryption, and it's simple. the danger of OpenAI is the same of anything on the web in terms of your security, right? If it's encrypted, do you use multi-factor authorization? Yes or no? Those are the two biggest things that prevent security problems.
So you could run your budget, your procurement, your expenses and
Yeah,
receipts
100%.
and everything on this OpenAI, but it would just be held in your computers, not.
100%.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. And then make us a good example of like, okay, when you talk about data in transit, right, between something, between different AIs or modules, there was a concern for a while that the information between those modules wasn't encrypted, right? But it is. But the concern was depending on what tools you use to talk to each other, whether or not the info goes anywhere. So that's why you use a tool like Make, so that you ensure that, hey, I'm getting, as soon as that information gets pulled from the RSS feed, it's a secret message, essentially, right? Until it ends up in the Twitter sphere, you know? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
What kind of benefit do you offer just having you come? I mean, because business to business is so specific as what we would need something
Yeah.
like this for, but I mean, sitting down with you and consulting with you about it, how does all that work?
Yeah, I mean, great question, man. Thank you very much. Thank you. No, this is why I do what I do. I really enjoy being able to make progress with others and weasel my way into providing value to someone, right? And to businesses. So, generally the way that any AI group or AI group that you're talking to would work is, they need to get to know your business first, right? So you spend that hour consulting and talking about the different processes that are really, your pain points, right? And then you scale it. What is the easiest pain point to solve today with the most impact, right? And that's generally the approach. And then you expand upon it. Like I said earlier, you're always implementing it in a way that can be controlled in a piloted program, and then you build it out from there. Thank you.
Any other questions? Just want to thank you, Paul,
Thank you.
for providing this.
Then.
For AI, because I think it's just here to stay and it's only going to get bigger and bigger and everyone, and it's really neat to learn how we can make it available in our own daily lives and in our own businesses. So we do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody.